Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep. What company do you keep?
Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It. We are so glad that you decided to join us. And as usual, we're going to have an awesome show today. I am Dr. Sharon Cradle, and I am the oldest of this dynamic duo.
And I am Sherelle Higgins, and I am your favorite co-host.
I just have to let her have that every week.
Duo.
Just have to let her have it
Let
every
me
week.
have it. Let me have it.
It's all good. It's all good. Because we're all great at something, right?
Yes, we are.
We're all the favorite to someone.
We are all unapologetically great.
That's exactly right. And so as we get started, so you just led me right into
Yes,
that.
'cause that's what I do.
We're going to introduce these handsome young men in a minute, but you know we
Wait
always.
a minute, hold on. We got a ham on our hands.
You get me talking, I don't want to be rude.
One of them married, so he off limits, but go ahead, the other one.
Get it straight. So, Sherelle kind of introduced the topic of the conference, and I'll come back to the scripture. As you all very well know, we have less than 2 weeks, for the 4th annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference. The theme is Unapologetically Great. Is going to be held, as you very well know, on March the 23rd at the Colony South Hotel and Conference Center. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets, there's still time. We are, wrapping up the planning phase, and you are going to be in for a treat. And so you do not want to miss it. Just go on Eventbrite or reach out to one of us, and we can help you secure your ticket.
And just so you know, I am the conference MC, so you already know if you've been before that I just shuts it down. But
She
this
got a word,
year,
y'all. She got a word.
Let me
She
just-
got a word. She got a word. She already said it. She got bars for the
let me
whole
just
room.
tell you, this year I'm
bars for the
also
room.
going to be a conference speaker, and I am finished with what I am going to say, and it will be phenomenal. I am shutting the conference down, and I'm the first speaker, so you want to be there to hear what I'm going to say, if I must say so myself.
We'll keep on saying so. So, the scripture for today is Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And so, I wanted to start with that scripture because these young men are definitely the epitome of that, the meaning of that particular scripture.
Thank you.
Yes. And so before I introduce them, I really want to talk about Women's History Month. As you all very well know, I was thinking a few minutes ago that we are so dynamic and great as women that we have a whole month.
What? You ain't
A
know?
whole month, and it is phenomenal. And so this is Women's History Month. And because of the background of one of our guests, and of course my sister's son who plays sports, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about a woman who's making history at the University of Virginia. And her name is Tina Thompson. She's named UVA's women's basketball head coach, and she's the 4th one, right? She is the 2nd all-time leading scorer in the WNBA history. a two-time Olympic
Marquita, what's up with that?
I
What's
know
your number? What's
Marquita.
your number,
I
Marquita?
know,
What's your
where's
number?
Marquita?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Olympic gold medalist.
That's how you call them out.
Yes. She's a four-time WNBA champion and was the first player drafted in the history of the WNBA.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what the University of Virginia is working with. And we are so proud of her. I don't know her, but we're going to send her some good vibes so that she can be successful and represent at the University of Virginia.
Definitely.
So just look her up. Tina
That's awesome.
Thompson. Isn't that
Yes,
amazing?
that's awesome.
That's
That is.
amazing. Yes.
Big blessings.
And so what I understand is that at the UVA, she's the fourth in history, so their tenures tend to be long at the University of Virginia. So that's good, and so we're going to pray that she has long tenure there and meets with great success. So,
Oh,
yes,
cool.
I hope to meet her one day.
Definitely.
So, can I talk about the power of Women Histories Month?
Yes.
And how far we have come?
Yes.
There was a time in this country where women couldn't speak up, right? And women were not considered people, they were considered property. Well, I will tell you that, of course, times have completely changed, and especially changed for African American women.
Definitely.
Because we are very vocal, right? And I went to the DMV this past Monday. I dropped my husband off at the airport. I got up early Monday morning, dropped him off at the airport in D.C., came back to Woodbridge, and was at the DMV at 6 a.m. DMV doesn't open till 8.
Oh, wow.
And I sat there. I was the first one there, so I got out. I put my chair out there, put my little license plate in the chair that I was returning so that there would be no misunderstanding about who was first in line at the DMV. And so shortly, probably about 10 minutes after I was there, another family pulled up. The gentleman got out the car. He got his stroller. He put the baby stroller behind my chair. And I said to him, great minds think alike. And we chuckled and, we kept it moving. Well, about 7:15, 7:30-ish, there was not only me and this other family there, but 3 other people had gotten in line. They had actually gotten out of their cars and was in line. And then this gentleman, he walked up. And he went straight to the front of the line.
No respect.
Right.
None.
You tripping.
So I'm sitting in the car looking at him like, I know he's not tripping. And I hope we don't have to go there. So I let him stand there. And as I was sitting there, I was like, Lord, please help him. Not me, help him. Right? Lord, help him. Because he's going to be the one who needs some help when I get out this car if he in my spot. And so I just let him stand there. And then finally I got out the car because it was close to 8 o'clock. And I said, well, let me get my chair. And as I was sitting in the car praying for him, I asked, the Lord said to me, well, you need to ask him first if he works here. Right? Because then I could respect you going in the door first. Well, when I got out the car and started packing up my chair, I asked the gentleman, I said, do you work here? And I said, good morning, sir. Do you work here? He said, no. I said, okay, but then I guess
How the rest of this conversation about to go now?
you
then
are
now I
going
know
to
how we gonna go
respect
ahead.
the
We gonna work the
integrity
rest
of
of
the
the way.
line
Integrity
and
of
get
the line.
in your proper space. And so he looked at me as if it was something wrong with me. And, I was thinking to myself, okay, I hope we don't have to do this today. So I put my little stuff in the car and I closed the door, locked the truck, and I went and stood in front of him, right? Because I was like, if you don't work here, you ain't going first. I'm going first.
Right.
So, and then I kept looking back because the other people who were in line, they didn't say anything. And I was like, well, that's their problem. I don't have nothing to do with that. And so when the security guard finally opened, who happened to be also a Virginia State Trojan,
Oh, wow.
who opened the door to let us in, I went in first and I looked behind me to see where this gentleman was, and he was in his rightful place, number 6 in line,
he found it.
because
He
the
found it
other 5 people was like, bro. And so I was just like, okay, good. I'm glad we didn't have to go there, but let me just end this story where he left DMV before all of us. So we probably could have just let him go first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we start talking about Women's History Month
Yeah.
and how far we have come, we feel safe in speaking up for ourselves in 2019.
And it took a woman in that situation to speak up before the rest of the people in the line. They probably were just going to let them go
And
because they didn't want any trouble.
That's a good point because the rest of the people were men.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The rest of the people were
That's
men.
interesting. Yeah. So we all just have to do better with helping each other, right?
Right.
Supporting each other. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But I'm so glad it all worked out.
I'm
And
glad
you
it
didn't
did
have
too, 'cause
you didn't
I
have
was
to
like,
go
glad
there.
for his sake.
I know for his sake.
Right. Felt like could have went left for him.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
It's that sense of entitlement.
Yes. So, who do we? One of the things before we introduce our guest, Sherelle, you were talking about something I think is very important. You mind sharing with the audience about the exam that you're going to get next Friday?
Oh, right. So next Friday, I'm scheduled to get a colonoscopy. I was supposed to get it in December, but then the government shut down and I needed to be at work without pay. And then I rescheduled it for January and we were still working without pay. And so now I'm scheduled for this Friday and I am definitely going to get this over with because getting your annual screenings is very important.
Yes.
And
Men
while
and
we
women.
don't, absolutely men and women, and while we don't want to get these screenings, it's best that we get them. So if it's anything wrong, we find out at the earliest possible time that we can. So if you haven't gotten your colonoscopy and you're old enough to get one, or your mammograms or your prostate exams, whatever that exam is, make sure you get that.
Take care of yourselves
Absolutely.
because we already know that people are just dying, and that's just the times that we're living in. But we know cancer is real.
Yes.
We know heart attack, strokes. We just have to
Yes.
take better care of ourselves. And so that's what we're here to promote. And, we have to be the example as well, since we're telling folks. So take care of yourselves, because if you don't go now, you're going to have to go eventually if you get diagnosed with something. So you may as well go early and just get checked out.
And I don't know if you all know this, but Alice Trebek from
Yes.
Jeopardy just announced
he got cancer.
that he has stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most aggressive cancers you
Yeah.
can have. And also, Miss Teen Universe just passed away from a heart attack.
what?
She was 21 years old. She passed away the day after her 21st birthday. So make sure you go to the doctor and get yourself checked out.
Exactly. And those of you who are on our social media feeds, as usual, please go to listenvisionlive.com so that you can see the show in its entirety. You can see all of our guests. And if you want to call in, the number is 833-202-8255. So let's get right to it.
Get to it.
Let's get it.
One of the things, as our theme song says, we really want to bring inspiring, interesting topics to this show, right, and to our audience. And with so much negativity going on in the world, particularly as it relates to our black men, the black culture, I'm thinking, what's being portrayed on television is not who we all are. We're not
Right.
a monolithic. We are some dynamic and diverse people. And so I just happen to know 2 young men that I kind of seen grow up, actually.
Right.
And I just wanted to bring them on the show to talk about, their life and being entrepreneurs, who they are, and just really kind of talk about, what they see the direction of this country going and how they're going to participate in it and how they're going to benefit from it. And so I'm going to open it up with Keon Hill and Jay Scruggs. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're just going to engage in our conversation.
Cool.
So Keon, welcome. Thank you all for coming.
Well,
First, I
Welcome.
just want to say thank you both ladies for inviting us out. This is an amazing opportunity. My name is Keon Hill. I'm the founder of Dream Bed DC, a clothing line we use to inspire others through fashion and other community events. I'm also a 3rd grade teacher at New Chapel Christian Academy, and I'll be acting as the assistant principal in the summer. So I'm excited about that as well. We got a lot of good things coming. My right-hand man right here, Jay.
Okay.
As already mentioned, I'm Jay Scruggs. I'm an HR specialist with the Homeland Security.
I'm an HR specialist too.
man.
Supervisory. Well, we got
Okay.
we got some
We got the
we
connection already. We got it.
bonding over here.
You can tell by the energy in the room.
Right.
Good energy. Good energy.
Wow.
So yes, HR specialist with Homeland Security, general manager of Dream Bed DC. Very blessed to partner up with Keon and helping his vision become true, and doing everything I can to help with that. So yeah.
So what I think is so phenomenal, and let's just start there because we know you all have your business and we're going to let you talk about it, but it is often said that it is very difficult to be in partnership in business with friends. And so you all have been knowing each other probably since birth? Yeah,
That was
since
my
birth.
brother, so, like-
Exactly.
No, that's cool.
So tell us how your friendship and relationship developed and how you all decided to work together in business.
Outside of my father, he's probably like the biggest influence on my life. Like, so
That's amazing.
Like, it's like my brother. I used to spend every weekend with him, just about elementary, middle school. So like once I had this vision, it was just like, who else would I want to invite to work with me? Like it's the best thing. Like I know without a doubt, he gonna be right there. Like no matter what, phone call, pick this up for me, anything. I tell the vision, he makes sure it happens, and it's just how it's always been. So
Wow.
I'm blessed.
I like it.
Yeah, and Jay, your role and how do you work within the relationship?
It's easy. I respect Keon as the CEO. I don't want to take nothing from him. I don't want to take over what he's doing. I understand my role, and I think that's what
That's
a lot
always
of people,
important in a
Always,
relationship.
always,
in any
always,
relationship, everybody has to understand their role.
and I think that's where a lot of people fall. But I understand my role as the one. I just want to make sure everything happens.
Right.
I understand Keon's vision. Every time that we talk, I always tell Keon, I got to give it to you both ways. What I see as the positive, what I see as the negatives.
Good for you.
And then from there we collaborate. On the strategies to make sure that his vision comes to fruition.
And you know what's so awesome about that? When I teach leadership development, that's one of the things I talk about, understanding our roles, right? And so as the general manager, you understand the CEO and that you are the steward of the CEO's vision, right? And you have to have some trust and have a relationship so that you can give the positive and the not so good things, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And so that is so cool. So have you all ever had a situation where, Keon, you had to just kind of,
Pull
put
a
down,
rank?
pull a rank?
Honestly, nah. I mean, our visions are the same. Like, it's not like I'm far-fetched with something I'm trying to do and he's like far left. Like, we both trying to impact the community in any way we can. And it comes down to that. So whatever we do is towards that goal. And we have the same goals. Nothing else really comes up. It's just we locked in what we know we trying to do.
That's great.
And dream big. Tell us a little bit more about that, because you just said something that we all need to strive to do, and that some of us are doing, impacting the community. So tell us about dream big. Where did the vision come from? Where did you start? And some of the activities that you all have had.
It's all about empowerment. I've seen throughout my friends, family, a lot of people have been, I don't know, just been discouraged. It's like a lack of support. People's dreams have been killed from birth. Like, fear kills more dreams than failure ever will.
Say it again.
Like, a lot of people have been scared.
Yes, they
so
are.
this is what
I
we
think
come
he's
at, you
stealing
feel me?
some of my saying, some of my speech for the conference.
So I'm just saying, like, a way that we can come in and impact people. We're empowering our community in every way that we can. We do it with the clothes. You embody our clothes. You wear it. It's not just for fashion or whatever, but it's also for empowerment. So you wear it, it's like, I'm feeling good about myself. And then also through our events, one of our biggest events is the Dream Talk.
Yes.
Like, visual representation of, like, Black excellence. It's, like, so vital for development.
I
think you all, we kind of like align in the same thing with the Women That Are Great conference. It's like you're putting amazing young leaders on a platform to be able to share their story, tell their dream, and empower. So now young women are looking up to these leaders and like, I could do that too.
Exactly.
It's the same thing for us. So like visual representation is like the key to like development. And that's what we've seen in the past 3 years. We got our next event, May 17th, Dream Talk. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
And yeah, that's what kind of like the
And what's so cool, so many people, everybody doesn't have the support as well as the opportunities that you all have. And so I'm just going to say this. Keon is my pastor and first lady's son.
Yes, preacher's kid.
He a PK, y'all. He a
Bad
PK.
one.
You know what that means.
I'm a good one. I'm a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's what his mouth said.
And he
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you out there like
It's
that.
all good.
and he's a graduate of Howard University. I don't know if you said
HU,
that.
HU.
Right across the street.
Sorry it happened to him.
And so I wanted to bring him on because we know that when you have that support and that's what, to me, that's just the role of parents, right?
Sure,
to
for
put
sure.
your children in the best possible situation so that they can take over or they can just go out and
flourish.
make a difference. Yeah, and flourish and
Right.
make a difference in
Right,
this
definitely.
world. So I know I called it co-principal, but you said
Co-principal.
assistant
Yeah,
principal.
co-principal,
Okay.
same thing, yeah.
So one of the things I was so impressed with, do you mind telling everyone how old you are?
I am 24.
24.
24.
Oh, little young thing.
He's 24. And
I was almost married.
yes, exactly. And Keon's dad, we at our church, New Chapel Baptist Church in Camp Springs, Maryland, also has an academy. So it's a Christian education school
Right.
where Keon, of course, he said he's a third grade teacher, but his dad has always talked to him about taking over the leadership position. And
Legacy.
so that is getting ready to happen. So how, talk to us about the steps in preparation for such a big role.
Right. So growing up, like I played basketball, but it was always more than basketball. So like I was put into leadership academies. I was going to STEM conferences. It was like always more than that. And like one day I went to Riverdale Baptist
Yes.
and we were driving by. It was like I was like 13, 12. I was like, one day I'm gonna make sure our school gets to this, but even bigger though. Like the way you can control minds through education. Education
Yes,
is the most
that's
powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
Yes.
So like we all know that. So we
Wait, I need to repeat that. Education
is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. Nelson
It's the
Mandela.
most powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
world.
I wanted to
Power.
repeat that because I'm gonna make my son watch this so that he can hear you say
for
somebody he
sure.
can relate to
Yeah.
that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
Definitely. We got
I
an
love that.
opportunity to change the world with our own school. We get to, and we're a private school, so we get to control the curriculum of what we're
Yes.
embodying in our children. So like Black excellence, teaching them Black history, the things that are not being taught in school, financial
Right.
literacy, entrepreneurship, all these things that we can implement to our school. We have the opportunity to do that. So it's like a no-brainer for me.
I
And
think that's great that you all are talking about financial literacy
for sure,
because
for
that's
sure.
one topic that we don't talk about
don't.
enough in our
Hey,
community,
we don't.
and we don't teach our kids
At all.
financial literacy. So I love that.
Yeah.
And so, Jay,
Yes.
why be a part of being an entrepreneur? What's interesting about being an entrepreneur to you?
I think it's the thought or seeing that the manifestation of your ideas from your hands, from your work.
It's ours.
It's yours. It's something that you could take pride in. I know for some people that I've worked with within the government, some of they don't put their best foot forward because some of their assignments or tasks doesn't directly correlate to them and their character. But when you're the owner and the founder of something,
Yes.
everything comes
Yes.
back to you.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it essentially is your name.
Right.
It is your name.
It's your baby.
And so I don't know how most people were raised, but definitely the way I was raised, your name and your word is almost everything that you have. No
Wow.
one can take that
That's
away
right.
from you. So I always put my best foot forward in everything that I do because I know that those works, the product is going to be coming back towards me. And that's what people are going to use to highlight me and judge me.
Right. And Jay is married.
Yes.
Expecting his first child. And I just love what you said about the manifestation. I want you all to check out something. Check out their vocabulary.
Right.
The vocabulary, I'm serious, vocabulary is everything. And vocabulary, they're very clear about what their purpose is in terms of dream big and what they're going to do and
Thank you.
their role, and they're being role models. And so now Jay is expecting a young one. And so we already know that young one is going to be all right.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
right.
For sure.
No doubt.
No
Because
question.
of how Jay was raised and the support system
No question.
that they have, and people always talk about, and I wasn't going to go here, but it's relevant. People talk about whether church is not relevant. I disagree. I disagree.
No.
If you
The church not relevant.
yeah, but a lot of people don't think the church is relevant, and I'm thinking no, the church is relevant because it's about fellowshipping with people and helping to be a part of other people's lives, right? And supporting people and encouraging them, and that's just one place other than going to worship, right? That you can build those
Exactly.
bonds and those relationships
Definitely.
with people, and that's how I guess your families met. Through the church.
Definitely.
And
Yeah,
so
definitely. Yep.
without that, you don't know if you would have ever met each other. And so, the manifestation of some of the things that we put in place is so very important. So dream big. you said you have Dream Talks. Talk just a little bit more about that so our audience can understand what that's about.
So it's a panel of young African American leaders that we kind of put on the platform to be able to share their story, tell their dream. And then also we have like music, we have kids come and sing, and then afterwards we have like a social networking event that we allow all of the panelists to have set up a table. You get a chance to interact with them. So I think like personal interaction is like so key. So like an 8-year-old be able to see a 23-year-old entrepreneur woman, and then afterwards she gets to shake her hand and say, "Oh my God, thank you." And the 23-year-old say, "You can be just like me." We go, that changes somebody's whole trajectory of their life. Just that one simple interaction. So like we were able to provide that for our community, and that's something that you touched on it earlier, like the visual representation of like the Black excellence. They kind of like, it's kind of negated. Like they really don't show exactly what we're doing.
Exactly.
It's always the
Negative.
Black athlete
Yes.
or the negativity,
Yes.
the going to jail, the shootings, but they never
Yes.
show like the 25-year-old business owner or the person who has their own nail salon. Or
Right.
those things, like they don't highlight those. So that's where we get an opportunity to do that. Same thing with you all's conference. Like
Yes.
that's a huge thing for our community, and I hope people continue to buy into that because that changes everything.
Exactly.
And you know, it's so important because, you know, as a mother of a young African American male, 16 years old, he look at us as if we're old.
Right.
Now, I certainly agree with him when it comes to his father. But for me, not so much, right? But for him to be able to watch this show and see two young African American men that he won't think is old or that much older than him, that he can look to and see that you all are doing great things, and that he too can see himself in that and know that it's okay to do well. I think that's just so important.
And you can still be cool and fly too.
Right,
Like, you
still
don't have
cool
to
and
be
fly.
like a
He gonna be
Bama.
cool and fly because I'm his mama,
Yeah,
right?
you fly. So yeah, we gotta worry about that. But that's just for the general. For the general population. Not you.
Not your son.
Not your
Right.
son.
For those who aren't your kids, you know what I'm saying?
All the other kids. All the
Okay,
other
if you
kids.
need to be cool and fly, let me know. I'll hook you up.
Yeah, and that is why I wanted to bring them on the show, because as I was thinking about it and I watch the news and all of that, I'm thinking, well, I don't know any people like that. Everybody in my circle,
Right.
you know, everybody's just trying, right? They're
Right, right,
trying, they're doing,
Right.
they're making things happen. You know, we always say there's no one is perfect because that's the truth, but they're out here trying to represent. And I just remember going back to something that Charles Barkley said many years ago, and it still sticks with me when he says, "I am not your kid's role model."
Woo, say it.
And I understood that,
I did
but I
too.
disagree.
Right.
Because it's like Keon was saying, if you don't have these visual representations that's modeling certain kind of behaviors,
Right.
you know, whether you like it or not, you are somebody's child role model.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't pick them and they didn't pick you, but people are looking up to
You're on the
you.
platform. That's what they see.
Exactly.
So
That's
you
what
have
they
to embody
see.
what
Exactly.
they need to see. Exactly.
And so we have a responsibility then to
Definitely.
try to be the best that we can be, because you never know who's watching you.
And you
Always.
need to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all somebody's role model.
Exactly.
And so no matter what, you know, a lot of people think they don't have anything that people should be trying to emulate, but you'll be surprised
Exactly.
what people see in
People
you.
are always
And
watching.
People are always watching.
Exactly. And the selfish part of me, being the age that I am, I'm always rooting for our young folks to be the best that they can be. Because you know what? One day they may have to take care of me. You know, they got to run the
Exactly.
world.
Yeah,
So why wouldn't we root and
Right.
encourage and support our young folks to be the best they can be?
Right.
Because the world is small.
It is.
You know, we were
Yeah.
just talking about somebody we know in common, Jay. You know,
Yes,
and so
yes.
and never knew that.
Right.
And so the world is small and you never know where you're going to end up. And so to me, that's why I want to give these young men the platform to be able to talk about who they are, you know. And so tell us a little bit about how would you define manhood, you know, because you all are men sitting up here talking and I'm listening to you and I'm impressed. So how would you define
Jay, your
manhood?
definition
Go
going
ahead,
to be
Jay.
very different.
I understand that as a man, one of my main roles is to provide, but it's providing in several different ways. So it's not just financially, but it's also the knowledge, as Keon has mentioned, that I really want to focus on, sharing my experiences, providing my experiences to younger men that's coming up. I also understand that it not to get into like society norms
Right.
of what a man is. I kind of define myself like I'm an individual.
Always.
Right.
So my characteristics and everything that is formed from the people that I choose to put myself around.
Oh, absolutely.
And if I'm in an environment that I don't want to be in, I change myself around that.
Yes.
And I think that greatly influences my manhood. It's kind of tough, just because I just see
Yes.
myself so differently. So yes, being able to provide. Like you said, you don't always have the choice of being someone's role model, but I understand that that's a part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand who wouldn't want to be somebody's role model. Like, you have the chance to affect somebody's life for the better.
Mm-hmm.
To walk away from that's selfish. Caring, empathetic,
Yes.
understanding. It's a lot of things that go into being like a man.
Right.
But being able to handle your responsibilities. I think your word and your name is something also that I already touched on. But also sharing your experiences and not being afraid to.
And the reason I ask you that is because we as women, we are women. We are not men. And so it is so very important for women to hear from men, right, about how they think, how they move in the world, because we can, make, have our own perception and think, but sometimes we're off because we're not men. And Keon, so how would you define being a man?
Just everything that he alluded to earlier, but also I would add like the whole serve aspect of it.
Yes.
Carter G. Wilson, he talks about it in Miseducation of Negro.
Yes, he does.
Talks about like the leadership aspect. Everybody gets so caught up in the title, but they forget what leadership actually embodies, and that's serving, like action. What are you doing out in the community? Are you out trying to embody and change the world? And those things are like something that's very valuable to me as a man. Like, my responsibility is to serve, whether it's my community, whether it's my family, my wife, future wife, kids.
Yeah.
Those things.
He's single, y'all. He's single.
Yeah, I got a little time.
I got a little time.
ladies, I'm on the market.
Can I say something? Because you're an educator and you probably see this, and you all probably experienced this yourselves, but as an educator, public school educator, former public school educator, one of the things that we struggled with in school was our African American boys had a hard time being individuals, right?
Yeah.
And the second piece was reading. And the reason I bring this up is because, Keon, you just mentioned Carter G. Woodson, right? Yeah. Nelson Mandela.
For sure.
And so did you all go through a phase where you didn't think it was cool to read? Because I know that you're reading now because of what you're talking about. So talk about, your interest in your love for reading, and how did you select those books?
I think it was just exposure. Like, the house that I was brought up in, like, if you go to my house now, it's like books everywhere from my father and my mom, and like that's just what I was exposed to. It's this thing called a word desert. So like when I was in school, like they talk about the average black male, the average black kid is exposed to like, I don't know, I think it's like 1,000 words in the first 2 years of their life, and then like the average white family is like 1,000,000 words. It's like the exposure that we're getting given to. But like I wasn't an avid reader until I got to grad school, and that kind of like just changed my whole view on life and like how powerful education can be. But like it's just comes down to like what you see. Like, what are we seeing in the media? Like, it's not cool to read. It's cool to be on the court, or it's cool to do this or do that in the field, sports, whatever. So like it just comes down to exposure. So like that's why we try to have as many events and the things that we do as possible to expose to our kids like you can be cool and fly, but still read about Carter G or read or whatever it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we try to do.
Well, it's interesting. My son he likes to read.
Yeah, he does.
And we went to court the other day to get his license, because in the state of Virginia, you have to go to the courthouse to get your license when you're 16. So that's the only reason he and I will ever be at the court together. So let me be clear about that. And at the courthouse, they had a bookshelf, and they had free books.
Oh.
And it was interesting to me, just standing back watching, that my son was the only kid there who went up to that bookshelf to look to see if there was any books up there that he wanted. And when he looked, he was like, oh yeah, no, they look like all kiddie books. So he stepped away from it. But no other child did that. And so I thought that was interesting. And so, when you start talking about reading, particularly as a young African-American male, it's important to read, because people could tell you anything.
Right.
That don't make it right. And if you don't read it for yourself, then you just have no idea. You're just repeating what somebody told you.
And it opens up your imagination and it helps you to get to know yourself.
Real,
so
for sure.
so when you talk about dream big, why younger folks? I mean, I know anybody can come, but what was the impetus behind you really focusing on the younger generation?
I mean, just like you alluded to earlier, like the future is just what we have to invest in, really, because they're the ones that's going to make the world go. So, like, that's what we try to do. We try to invest in it, but it's not just the young. We do touch all facets, but like the youth is our main focus because
they need the most help. Let's just be honest.
For sure. But if their parents are not telling them to dream, and I'm saying not all parents are, but if their parents are not telling them to dream big, if they're going to the schools where only 1% is African American males, so like most of the time it's a white female teacher, you don't know what they're being told or being invested in. Like, if they're not getting dream big from anywhere else, they're gonna get it from us.
Right.
And we're gonna invest in everybody that we can. So we're trying to embody and empower as many people as we can.
But one of the things you all learn about me, because I think this is the first time we've really had real conversation, I like to go deep. Why you?
Right.
Why you? Why is it that Keon and Jay are taking on this effort?
I feel for me, and this is great that you asked this question, because me and my coworker last Saturday was just arguing about like our community and why certain things are the way they are. So he's like looking into like moving into Prince George's County. So I live in Charles County. I live in Waldorf. And so he's like, well, why you move from Prince George's County to Waldorf? And I'm like, I want to get more bang for my buck, housing, taxes, better school systems. And he said, so the school systems in Prince George's County is not good. And I'm like, there's some iffy ones, but I attribute that to any area. Any area
Absolutely.
in America, you're gonna have some good and some bad. But I also know how I grew up. I wish I had a little bit more diversity in my classroom. So that's one thing I know I wanted to give to my kid. So he came and he's been on this for like a few weeks, and so he's like, I just don't understand how Prince George's County could be one of the most wealthiest counties in America, but everyone he talks to keeps saying how bad the school systems are. So how come there isn't anyone? Why aren't the parents at the PTA meetings? Or people not paying their taxes? Why are they not standing up and yelling and advocating to the highest level about actually having better school systems? And I'm sitting back and I'm like, I know of people who are like fighting those fights, but I look at the majority of those who aren't, and like it's a despairing number. So with that, I'm just compelled to do something.
Yes.
Right.
I just always knew I had to do something about it. And then like the way I was brought up. Keon's father, like I was one of the first students to go to New Chapel Christian Academy.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
I think I'm like the sixth kid on the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the record book, Hall of Fame.
So like,
Keon, I'm trusting you were first.
No, because you're younger than Jay.
Yeah, the school
yeah.
started in 1988. I came in 1996.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll never forget the first time I actually met Keon's father, like him walking me around, the way he spoke, the way he led me and my family through the schools, the way he talked to us about the programs and stuff. I just kind of always been under someone who showed me a way to be a leader. And I've been exposed through him to so many different other people who have been leaders in our community. And the more I sat back and thought about, those things or those experiences, I just realized I never wanted to be, lazy. It's easy to get complacent.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It really is.
Like with just obtaining things, but when you're all gone, those things are going to go away. And so it's all about the legacy. So for me, I just want to make sure that I always had a stamp. I don't care if I'm ever like the most famous person in the world or anything like that. But however, I may be able to affect someone who has a greater change in the world than what I will. So I just want to make sure that I just leave an impact.
Yeah. And that's powerful.
Yeah, and I want to say something about that conversation you were having with that young man. we have to be very careful about how we talk about where we live,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
In every large community like that, they struggle with something,
For sure.
Exactly.
right?
For sure.
And when I think about the children, some of the kids I know that came out of Prince George's County Public School, all the schools are not bad. We have some dynamic
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
definitely,
children
definitely.
coming out of this school system,
Definitely.
right? And so I just refuse.
It's easy to criticize from the
Right,
outside
exactly.
when you're not really in
Because
it.
what are we
Yeah.
saying to our kids?
Right.
Exactly.
When they hear this, what are we saying to them?
For sure.
No, but our kids are dynamic. They're smart. We just have to train each other how to be more assertive and take our
Yes.
education serious, and a lot of them do, because so many awesome children have come out of Prince George's County Public Schools.
Exactly.
But
Period.
like Jay was saying, that's every school district, right? I live
It
in Prince
is.
William County.
Yes.
It's diverse.
Yes.
And my son goes to a school that a lot of parents try to avoid. But my philosophy is, first of all, it was the school that the bus was coming to pick him up and take him to, right? And second, that they had teachers up there who were willing to give out the lesson, and it was up to him to get the lesson and not get sidetracked by all of the other craziness that was happening. And so both my kids went there, and they are excelling academically. And so, for those who say that school is not one of the better schools in the county, I challenge them on that thought, because it's not about all of the schools are teaching the same thing. It's about us as parents
Right. I was
making
just about to say that.
sure that our kids go to the school and do what they're supposed to do,
Yeah, you gotta
and
take
get what is being given out at the school.
Definitely. You got to take ownership. Look in the mirror. Like if the school's having a PTA meeting and there's no parents there, but then you're complaining
Right.
about, or they're having parent teacher conferences.
Yes.
You're not signing up, but then you go and complain about the school. Like you have to do your work too. You got to do your due diligence.
Yes.
Let me tell y'all a quick story about parent-teacher conference. I went up to my son's school on Friday. I usually try to stay away from the school because it just usually get my blood pressure up high. And so I went to the school to meet. My son is in ROTC to meet with Master Sergeant, right? And so Master Sergeant and we're sitting in the conference room in the office, and we're talking about grades, and he prints out all of the grades from the beginning of the year through present, and he slides 4 pieces of paper across the table. And I'm looking at these pieces of paper, and I'm like, absent, didn't wear his uniform, didn't dress out for PT. I'm like thinking to myself, it's about to be some crouching dragon, Higgin, tiger stuff going on at the house. When he get home from school, I was already plotting how I was going to be standing behind that little half wall at the front door. And when he came in, I was just going to pounce on him, right? And I'm looking and we talking, and I'm like, oh, well, next week, since he don't like to wear his uniform 1 time a week, we going to wear it 4 times next week, right?
Exactly.
Because we going to make up some stuff. And so I'm looking and we talking, and I'm like, he an athlete. I don't understand not dressing out. You got to dress out anyway. We going back and forth for about 45 minutes. I happened to look at the top of the page, and we was talking about the wrong Jalen. I said, thank you, Jesus.
Wow.
He was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I said,
Yes.
you know what? I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I figured it out before he got choked out, right? And we went around to his office, and he printed my Jalen's grades, and I was like, now this is more like it.
Got you all excited.
Right. Now he still, because I was like, he was absent last Thursday. I'm like pulling out the phone. I'm like, last Thursday? Wait a minute, I was at CIAA. Why was he not at school? Okay, so my Jalen wasn't absent last Thursday. But he did have some missing days that he didn't dress out. And I told the Master Sergeant, I said, look, don't worry about that. I got this. Next Monday through Wednesday, he going to be in uniform. Don't worry about it. He going to make those up because he can wear his uniform 1 time a week or 3 times a week. It don't really matter to me. But either way it go, it has to be done.
And the parent has to be the
And
one.
the parent
because
has
you're
to
the
be
one
the
that's
one to
guiding.
make sure that
Yes.
it gets done.
Exactly.
So before I leave the house Monday through Wednesday, come on, we can ready to do inspection, bro.
Remember them days.
So
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Parents have to be involved, and we have to take responsibility for what
their
our
children.
kids do
For their children.
at school. Absolutely.
And so, look, we have a question for each of you on social media.
Okay.
And it says, they are 2 BMWs, black men working.
Yes.
Ask Keon what is he looking for in a prospective mate, and ask Jay what was his process in selecting a spouse, and how did he sell himself to be married
Oh, that's a good question.
worthy?
Oh, I love it.
I'm
Come
gonna,
on, Keon.
and I'm gonna let Jay touch.
No, Keon, I need you to go first. I got a 21-year-old daughter. She real cute too. I need you to go first.
Tell I say what's up. Nah, wow. I don't even know where to start. I mean, really just definitely valuing education. I'm really big on that. Supportive. Got to be attractive. Like
I was
just
gonna
like
say
always,
cute. Don't
attraction
leave
is
out
always
cute.
like the number
Yes.
one thing. Like, I think a spiritual foundation is always like vital too, as well. We got to be along the same lines, like equally yoked. The Bible talks about equally yoked. So you don't gotta be all holy and sanctified, but at least like
Yes.
some type of foundation that we could build upon. But I mean, I'm not really big. As long as we have like good energy and the connection, it just depends on our conversation, and we go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the foundation piece and building.
Yeah, definitely.
Because so many people think they get in a relationship and it's just a relationship, and you have to work and you have to
Yeah,
build.
for sure. And then
towards-
people always like have this ideal person. Like we're always growing.
Yes.
Life is an evolving process. So
Yes.
you're not just going to pick the perfect person
No.
that
Right.
day. Like we're just going to grow together.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Right.
And so before we get to Jay, how are your dad and mom's relationship or influence to
Oh,
your
man.
decision making? Because they've been married a long time.
Yeah,
And I think your dad has been they've been knowing each other since they were like
It was
14.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
been
that's so cool.
It's
Yeah.
been amazing just to like live upon and like just see like a great relationship like outside of just. Of course, like they love each other, but like their friendship has like been so key for me to see. It's like they have an amazing bond.
Yes.
And like I was just able to see that. 'Cause, like again, visual representation is like
Right.
it's so vital. Like what I've seen is like what I know I can get. Like, I can get that. I'm not gonna settle myself short. I'm not
Good
gonna
for
settle
you.
for less. Like
Awesome.
yeah, I've
for
seen
you.
a great relationship. So
And Jay?
It was kind of funny because we used to work together, like me and my wife, and so just seeing her every day. But I think our relationship. We complement each other. So like where I'm like I like to work the room. So when I come in, I sit quiet for about maybe 5 minutes just to get the feel, see where everybody is and what everybody's
you
doing,
gonna
what they
start
about.
talking.
And then after that, I hook one, and then I know I'm
gonna
good.
start
I know.
talking for sure.
Then I'll get everybody else start to get involved in everything from there. Where she's, she can come sit down and. You probably would never know, like, unless you bump into her, like. But so, like, it's just a good compliment for us. I think that's all I was really looking for, someone who could compliment me, because I know how I was. I guess I could admit I was a little bit self-centered.
It's okay.
So I know I
happens.
kind of wanted like a lot of things to be done my way and everything like that.
Quickly learn the error
yeah.
of your ways.
Very quick. You ain't got nothing on your line? Oh, man. You ain't got nothing on your line? Oh, yeah, you switch up.
Yeah,
Switch up
exactly.
quick. But no, for all my faults, we've been through a lot. She was there for when my mom was sick, when my mom passed. She sticked around. When I was dumb and wanted to be out here, she's, didn't go far. So she stuck around for that. Really, just an embodiment of just someone who's wanted to hold you down and be around. I'm not complicated. I don't really like look for too much.
Most
se,
men
like
are
you
not.
I just
It's us.
a little, say it's a little some attraction, some goals to be driven. We need something so that we can build upon. I was heavily active in the church, so. She had to understand that, so I needed someone who has a Christian background, so they understand, that part of my life wasn't going to change because I'm in a relationship. Someone who also understood my goals and what I wanted. So, I wanted to enjoy life first before having a kid. We've been blessed to be able to, do some traveling and enjoy each other before, now about to have a kid and everything like that. And then someone, who has different values so that we can get I have a more well-rounded life, because if we all about the same thing,
Right.
I'm never going to be exposed to nothing
Exactly.
different.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But why marriage so young?
Marriage
Because-
so young,
Yeah.
How old were you when you got married?
27
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That ain't too young.
That's not too
26
bad.
26 my bad,
Okay.
2 weeks before my birthday.
Well, all right.
But yeah, so young because dating is expensive. dating multiple people can only be more expensive.
We talk about that dating scene in this area. You're
Definitely.
right.
And once you get married, you know it's cheaper to keep her.
Hey, that's the number one motivation. Nothing else. You said something earlier about the 7-year itch. Nah. Look at my bank account. Oh no.
Right.
That is going way easy.
And now you got a baby on the way, so
Yeah,
now
nah,
you're saying
nah,
it's
nah,
not
that's 18, nah,
it's not cheaper to keep her, it's cheaper to keep them.
It's a package now.
It's a package.
Package deal.
Damn, I
Because
forgot the
being
question.
young, like you said,
Very
you
young,
know,
very young.
Oh.
yeah, and being young because you in this particular in this region, I can only talk about the DMV is a special place.
Yes. Oh no, I can understand.
Yeah.
No, because as the older you get, I feel like now people are battling that what they're willing to compromise and what they're willing to give. For me, I knew if she embodies everything that I'm looking for, and we were talking for a while, about maybe 7-8 years before that.
Oh,
we actually
okay.
got
Oh.
engaged, so like we've known each other for a while.
Okay, that's good.
So with all that time, and I'm still dating only her, like it's no need to wait around or anything else. It's like, let's settle down, let's get life going. I had goals to like buying houses and being out my parents' house and everything like that at certain time frames. So I still wanted to hold up to those goals, but now that I found someone to build upon, I mean it all lined up.
Let me ask this question. So usually there are challenges with relationships, particularly marriages, when you have someone who you are good friends with who is single, right? And you're married.
Yes.
And just kind of how do you navigate?
Yeah.
How do both of y'all
that's
navigate
your
that?
situation, yeah.
Yeah, how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
Oh no. So I'm open and honest.
Okay.
And I think that's one thing she can always expect from me. I don't have to hide anything.
Okay.
I always will come out front. I respect her. And so to disrespect her would be like disrespecting everything that everyone else has put into my life thus far. So that to let that many people down, that's not something that I could very well do. So I just I pick and choose my spots. With the type of energy my friends are on, they're single and they're on the we about to bag for the night. Hey, go ahead and bag. What they do don't have nothing to do with me.
yeah.
I can easily stand by myself, have me a good time.
Right,
I know how to converse with other people, but let them know where I'm at in my life, and that you're not about to mess this up for me.
Hey.
You just really got to be comfortable with yourself. And I think once you really have that, and you're not easily influenced by others, then you can do anything that you want.
Definitely.
You can be
So
out here.
Keon, how do you work it out without having your wingman?
Oh, we good. He just go
I
out
don't
there,
miss
Key,
much.
yeah, Key, do your thing, and then we good. Yeah.
Got you a new one, huh?
So Jay, you mentioned something, and I wasn't going to bring it up, so I'm glad you did. When you talked about your mother passing,
Yes.
So, and this young lady, your wife, was, you all were dating at that time. So how did your mom's death influence your decision to just say, okay, this lady is the one? Because your mom was a special lady.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was really big in me. So we got engaged a year, maybe a little less than a year before my mom passed. But she was there. She brought groceries for my mom. Like her and my mom is like they were real tight.
Yes.
And then I think her and my father's relationship. I think my father may like my wife more than he likes me.
You know what? That's not unusual.
That's not unusual.
It's really not unusual. My
very
mother-in-law and father-in-law like me more, and they like my husband. So that's not unusual.
That's true.
They
That's
talk
very
more than I talk to him, and I'm fine with that. Like, I hear
Yeah.
them cackling and laughing together. That I know he alive.
Right.
That's all I need to know. So,
Exactly.
but yes, just to be there to go through that. I know for some people that can be a big thing. You have to be very patient, very loving, very caring. It takes a lot to stick with somebody who's going through a big ordeal like that. And she, like I said, she never wavered. Stuck by me the whole way through. But didn't let me go overboard. Like she really just kind of like held me down, made sure I stayed focused. Didn't let me drown myself in one particular thing to cope or anything like that. Kept me at a level head. So that for me, that's the solidification for it all.
That's
Definitely.
all right.
For
Awesome.
sure.
My mom passed, I think, a month before we got married. So For me, it was just like, well, I can't move the date up because I already solidified it. But I mean, let's do it now. Like, it's nothing else. To me, it'll be tough for someone to take that place.
Oh, that's
that was awesome. And so, gentlemen, as we told you all before, the show goes by quickly.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
we
I
have
see.
about 2 minutes. And so, Keon, I want you to give the date of your event and the location and how they can get in contact with you all.
Okay, you can follow us all on Instagram, Twitter, Dream Big DC, all one word. Our first events will be Dream Talk, May 17th at New Chapel Baptist Church, 5601 Old Branch Avenue, Milton Lane, Camp Springs, Maryland, at 7:30 p.m. We'll have flyers and everything once you follow us. But our clothes new drop is coming in 2 weeks, so
like those.
Look forward to that. Yeah, hoodies,
Yeah,
t-shirts,
so look at-
hats, all of that.
Exactly.
You can follow us on all social media, and we'll be able to provide that for you.
Do you have
So-
a ladies line of clothing?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
unisex. You have like
Everything-
T-shirts for
yes,
women, or
yes,
Because
unisex,
I
everything
don't
is-
want a man T-shirt. I want a
no,
woman's T-shirt.
Okay,
You know,
we can make a
we
special
talked
order
about
for
that.
you.
We talked
We can
about
make a
that.
special
Little
order,
crop
yeah.
top, some
Okay,
stuff for
yeah,
the
because
summertime.
I'll wear it for you.
Okay.
We got you.
Okay,
We
all
got
right.
yeah, to promote it, because
Yes.
that's what's very important.
We
So,
got it.
gentlemen, thank you all so very
Thank you.
much
Thank
for
you.
coming and
Yes.
sharing
Thank you.
and engaging in this conversation. I think it's so important that we continue to do this, and whatever we can do to continue to support you, just let us know.
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
All
Thank you all
right.
for coming.
And see you all next
All right.
Sunday. Take care. Welcome to Sisters in Company talking about